3 years after burying his wife, Marcus Thompson walked into a restaurant and watched her sit down across from him. Same dark hair, same gentle eyes, same dimple on her left cheek. But Sarah was dead. He'd held her hand as she took her last breath. He'd lowered her casket into the frozen ground on a Tuesday morning in March, while their 6-year-old daughter asked why mommy wouldn't wake up. So who was this woman wearing his wife's face? And why did looking at her feel like drowning and breathing at the same time? Marcus hadn't wanted to be here. At 34 years old, sitting alone in Giovanni's Italian restaurant in Columbus, Ohio, waiting for a blind date felt like betraying everything he'd promised himself. The soft jazz playing through invisible speakers seemed to mock him. The warm glow of Edison bulbs cast everything in amber light, romantic light, the kind that belonged to a different version of his life. 3 years since Sarah died, and he still slept on the left side of the bed. Still kept her shampoo in the shower because throwing it away felt like erasing her. Still heard her voice in his dreams. Still reached for her in the darkness before remembering. His best friend Derek had been relentless about this setup. Just one dinner, man. That's all I'm asking. Her name's Emma. She teaches kindergarten. My cousin's girlfriend works with her at the same elementary school. Says she's been through some stuff. Moved to Columbus recently, starting over. I think you two might actually understand each other. Marcus hadn't asked what stuff meant. He didn't care. He'd already decided this would be exactly 1 hour of polite conversation, followed by a graceful exit and a firm, "told you so" to Derek in the morning. He checked his watch. 7:15. She was late. Good. Maybe she wouldn't show. Maybe the universe was giving him an out, one final chance to retreat to the safety of his grief. The waiter approached for the third time. "Still waiting, sir?" "Yeah, should be here any minute." The restaurant door opened. Cold November air rushed in, carrying the scent of coming snow. A woman stepped inside, dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, wearing a beige dress that seemed too thin for the weather. She clutched a small purse against her side like armor, scanning the room with nervous uncertainty. The hostess approached her. The woman nodded, smiled that tentative smile people wear when they're anxious and trying not to show it. Then she turned toward his table, and Marcus's entire world shattered. The water glass slipped from his fingers. It hit the table hard, water splashing across the white tablecloth, ice cubes scattering. But he couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything but stare. It was Sarah. Sarah was walking toward him, his wife, his dead wife. The woman he'd buried 3 winters ago was crossing this restaurant floor, her heels clicking against hardwood, looking confused and concerned, and so impossibly, heartbreakingly alive. "Marcus," the woman's voice cut through his panic. Similar to Sarah's, but not identical. A different rhythm, an unfamiliar cadence. "Are you okay? You look really pale. Should I get someone?" Marcus gripped the edge of the table, his knuckles white. The restaurant sounds faded into a high-pitched ringing in his ears. "I'm sorry." The words came out strangled. "I'm so sorry. I can't. I have to go." He stood so fast his chair scraped loudly against the floor. Other diners turned to stare. He barely noticed. His hands shook as he threw 2 20s on the table and walked toward the exit. Not running, not quite, but close. "Wait." The woman's voice followed him. "Did I do something wrong?" Marcus didn't answer. He pushed through the restaurant door into the November cold and kept walking until he reached his truck 3 blocks away. Only then did he let himself fall apart. He sat in his truck for 20 minutes before answering Derek's call. "What the hell happened?" Derek's voice was equal parts confused and concerned. "Emma just called me. She said you ran out like the building was on fire. She looks exactly like Sarah." Silence on the other end. The same hair, the same eyes, everything. Marcus continued, his voice cracking. down to the dimple on her left cheek. I looked at her and I saw my wife. That's... Derek paused. That's not possible. I've never seen her before. My cousin's girlfriend just said she was new to Columbus and seemed sweet. You've never seen a photo? Nothing? Nothing, man. I was just the messenger. Derek's voice changed, taking on a strange, careful tone. Marcus, didn't Sarah tell you she was adopted? Found wandering alone at some fair in Oregon when she was 3? The cold outside suddenly felt like nothing compared to the ice spreading through Marcus's chest. What does that have to do with... My cousin mentioned something when she was trying to convince me to set you guys up. She said Emma had moved to Columbus searching for someone, a family member she'd never met. What kind of family member? A twin sister. Derek's words dropped like stones. A twin sister she'd been separated from when they were kids. The phone nearly slipped from Marcus's numb fingers. Sarah had been found wandering alone at the Oregon State Fair when she was 3 years old. No parents, no identification, no memory of where she'd come from. She'd spent her whole life believing she'd been abandoned, that nobody had ever wanted her. But what if someone had been searching for her all along? I think, Derek said quietly, you just met your wife's twin sister. When Marcus finally pulled into his driveway, it was past 9 o'clock. The house was dark except for the living room lamp, the one Lily always left on when he was out. He found his daughter curled up on the couch in her pajamas, a math textbook open on her lap but clearly forgotten. At 9 years old, she was perceptive beyond her years, a trait that sometimes frightened him. "How was your date, Daddy?" Lily asked, closing the textbook. Marcus sank into the armchair across from her. "Complicated." "Did she like you?" "I don't know, sweetheart. I didn't really give her a chance to." Lily studied him with those serious brown eyes, so much like Sarah's. "Was she mean?" "No, not mean." He rubbed his face with both hands. "She just reminded me of someone." "Mom?" "Yeah, Mom." Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she slid off the couch and disappeared down the hallway. When she returned, she was holding something, a worn photograph, yellowed at the edges. "I found this in Mommy's closet last week," she said quietly. "I was looking for her old sweater, the soft one that still smells like her, and I found this hidden in the back." Marcus took the photograph with trembling hands. 2 identical toddlers in matching yellow dresses, sitting on a porch swing with bright smiles and pigtails. Behind them stood a young couple, their hands resting on the girl's shoulders. 2 girls, identical. Just like... "Daddy?" Lily's voice was small. "Who's the other little girl? She looks just like Mommy." Marcus stared at the photograph, his mind spinning. Sarah had never mentioned this, never shown him this picture, never told him anything about a sister. "I don't know, sweetheart," he said slowly, "but I'm going to find out." 2 weeks passed. Marcus couldn't stop thinking about the photograph, about Emma, about the impossible possibility that Sarah had kept a secret this enormous for their entire marriage. It was a Saturday morning when he finally worked up the courage to go through Sarah's things. Really go through them, not just the surface stuff he'd packed away after the funeral, but the boxes he'd shoved into the attic and tried to forget. The attic was cold and dusty, filled with Christmas decorations and old furniture, and memories he'd been avoiding for 3 years. In the far corner behind Lily's baby crib, he found what he was looking for, a cardboard box labeled Sarah's Personal in his own handwriting. He'd packed it the week after the funeral, shoving everything from her nightstand and closet inside without looking. He hadn't been able to bear it then. He wasn't sure he could bear it now, but he opened it anyway. Letters, journals, childhood drawings, a pressed flower from their first date, the positive pregnancy test she'd kept as a memento. And then, tucked in the back of her journal from 5 years ago, a folded piece of paper. It was a report from a DNA ancestry website. Marcus's hands trembled as he read. Sarah had taken the test secretly, never telling him. The results showed she had a 99% genetic match with someone in the database, a twin sister, and there was more, handwritten notes in the margin, in Sarah's familiar script. Found her. Her name is Emma. She lives in Portland. I've been watching her social media for months. She looks just like me. She's searching for me too. I want to reach out. But what if she's angry? What if she doesn't want to know me? What if I ruin her life? Every day I tell myself tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be brave, but tomorrow never comes. And finally, a full letter written on separate paper. My dearest Marcus, if you're reading this, it means I never found the courage to tell you the truth. And for that, I'm so sorry. I've known for 2 years that I have a twin sister. Her name is Emma. I found her through a DNA website, and I've been watching her from a distance ever since. Every day I tell myself, tomorrow I'll reach out. Tomorrow I'll be brave. But I'm terrified. What if she hates me? What if meeting me ruins her life? If you're reading this, it means I ran out of tomorrows. It means I died with a secret and I hate myself for it. Please, Marcus, if you ever meet Emma, give her this letter. Tell her I loved her before I ever knew her name. Tell her I'm sorry I never came home. All my love, forever and always, Sarah P.S. I hope you can forgive me for being afraid. I hope you can be braver than I was. The letter was dated 3 months before Sarah got sick. She'd known. All that time while they were making dinner together and tucking Lily into bed and planning summer vacations. She'd known she had a sister, and she'd been too afraid to reach out. Marcus sat in the dusty attic for an hour, crying for a reunion that never happened, for 2 sisters who'd spent their whole lives searching for each other and never connecting. 3 days later, Marcus sat on a bench in Miller Park, Sarah's letter in his pocket. He saw Emma before she saw him. She walked down the path slowly, hands tucked in a green jacket. Without the restaurant lighting and his panic, he could see differences now. She was slightly taller, her cheekbones sharper, her walk more deliberate, but the resemblance still stole his breath. Emma sat on the opposite end of the bench, leaving careful distance between them. Your friend told me you're a widower, she said quietly, that your wife passed 3 years ago, and that I look exactly like her. Marcus nodded. I've been thinking about that a lot, Emma continued, about why you ran, about what it must have felt like. I have something for you. Marcus pulled out the letter, the DNA results, the photograph he'd found in Lily's hands. Sarah left these. She knew about you. She'd been trying to find the courage to contact you for 2 years. Emma's eyes went wide. She knew. She found you through a DNA website. She'd been watching you, trying to work up the nerve to reach out. He held out the letter. She wrote this for you. Emma read the letter slowly. By the second paragraph, tears streamed down her face. By the end, she was sobbing, deep, broken sounds from somewhere beyond words. She knew about me and she was afraid, Emma whispered. I was afraid too. We were both so afraid, and now it's too late. They sat in silence as the weight of missed chances pressed down on both of them. Then Emma told her story. The Oregon State Fair in 1993. Thousands of people. Their parents turned away for 1 minute, just 60 seconds, to buy tickets for the Ferris wheel. When they looked back, Sarah was gone. They searched for her for the rest of their lives, Emma said. Hired investigators, filed reports every year. Every birthday, they set a place for her at the table. Every Christmas, they wrapped a present, just in case. Marcus couldn't speak. They died 5 years ago. Car accident. Still believing she was out there. Still hoping. Emma wiped her eyes. I promised them I would never stop looking. I moved to Columbus because an old foster record suggested she'd been placed somewhere in Ohio. She never knew, Marcus said roughly. Sarah never knew she had a family searching for her. She died thinking she'd been abandoned. I spent 30 years looking for my sister, and I found her grave instead. Over the next 6 months, Emma became part of their lives. Wednesday dinners, Sunday morning hair braiding sessions with Lily, endless questions about Sarah, what made her laugh, what she loved, who she was when no one was watching. Marcus answered everything, and in the telling, he discovered something unexpected. The grief didn't disappear, but it transformed. Sharing Sarah's memory with someone who genuinely wanted to know her felt like keeping her alive. Lily blossomed under Emma's attention. She showed her every drawing, every trophy, every secret hiding spot in the backyard. Emma listened like each word was precious, and Marcus watched. He watched Emma laugh at Lily's jokes. He watched her help with homework. He watched her cry during Lily's school play. He felt something shifting inside his chest, something he wasn't ready to name. Helen Thompson arrived unannounced on a Saturday morning in March. Marcus's mother had adored Sarah. Losing her had nearly destroyed Helen. She'd worn black for 2 years, visited the grave every Sunday, kept Sarah's picture as her phone wallpaper. When she walked into the kitchen and saw Emma teaching Lily how to flip pancakes, she went white. "What is this?" Her voice was ice. "Some kind of sick joke?" "Mom, this is Emma. She's Sarah's twin sister." "I don't care who she is." Helen was trembling. "She shouldn't be here, in my daughter-in-law's kitchen, wearing her face like a costume." "Grandma," Lily started. "She needs to leave. Now." Emma set down the spatula quietly. "I'm sorry you're upset, Mrs. Thompson. I'll go." After Emma left, Helen turned on her son. "This ends now. Today." "Mom, do you have any idea what this looks like? You're parading around town with a woman who looks exactly like your dead wife. People are talking. They think you've lost your mind. That's not what this is, isn't it? When you look at that woman, do you see Emma or do you see Sarah?" The question hit like a blade. "Choose," Helen said. "This woman or your family, because I cannot watch you do this to yourself." She left without waiting for an answer. It was a Thursday evening in November, 1 year since the blind date that had started everything. Emma had made a decision. She couldn't keep pretending anymore. She loved Marcus, not as a replacement for her sister, but for himself. The way he was with Lily, the way he'd honored Sarah's memory without being consumed by it. Lily was at a sleepover. Perfect timing. Emma let herself in with her key. The house was quiet except for Marcus's voice from the kitchen. He was on the phone. She should announce herself. But something in his tone made her freeze. "I don't know what I feel anymore." Marcus sounded broken. "When I'm with her, it's like Sarah never left. Like I got a second chance. But is that love? Or am I just using Emma because she has my wife's face?" The world tilted beneath Emma's feet. "My mother's right. Every time I look at Emma, I see Sarah. I can't separate them. And Emma deserves better than that. She deserves someone who loves her for who she actually is." The old floorboard creaked. "Emma." Marcus appeared in the doorway. "How long have you been standing there?" "Long enough." Her voice was steady. "Is that all I am to you? A ghost?" "Emma, it's not that simple. 7 months, Marcus. 7 months of falling in love with you. Not the idea of replacing my sister. You." Tears streamed down her face. "But I can't do this if I'm just a shadow." She walked to the door. "Please don't go," he said. "You've had a year to figure it out. And you still don't know." She turned back. "Tell Lily I love her. Tell her sometimes people leave even when they don't want to." She walked out into the cold, and Marcus let her go, because he was a coward, just like Sarah had been. The weeks after Emma left were brutal. Lily stopped smiling. She'd wake at night asking for Emma, and Marcus had no answers. Helen called daily, saying he'd made the right choice, but Marcus didn't feel right. He felt empty. Christmas came and went. For the first time since Sarah's death, Marcus didn't put up a tree. New Year's Eve found him alone in the dark living room. At midnight, his phone buzzed. "I know you're hurting. I'm hurting too. But I don't regret loving you. I don't regret any of it. Happy New Year, Marcus. Emma." He stared at the message for an hour, then deleted his response. It was a Wednesday night in mid-January. Marcus was tucking Lily into bed when she asked the question he'd been dreading. "Is Emma ever coming back?" "I don't know, sweetheart." "Did you make her leave?" "It's complicated." "That's what grown-ups say when they mess up." Lily sat up. "Daddy, can I tell you something? Something Mommy told me before she died?" "Of course, baby." "She made me promise not to tell anyone. She said I'd know when the time was right." Lily reached under her pillow and pulled out a folded piece of paper, written in colored pencil, clearly meant for a child. "Mommy wrote this for me the week before she went to heaven. She said to give it to you when you needed it." Lily's eyes were wet. "I think you need it now." Marcus unfolded the paper with trembling hands. "Dear Lily, by the time you read this, Mommy will be gone, but I need you to know something important. Love doesn't run out. Your daddy might meet someone new someday. When he does, it's okay. Loving someone new doesn't mean he loves me any less. Love isn't a pizza that gets smaller when you share it. Love is like a garden. The more you plant, the bigger it grows. If your daddy finds someone who makes him smile again, help him be brave. Tell him I said it's okay. Tell him the best way to honor me is to keep living, keep loving, keep growing that garden. I love you more than all the stars, baby girl. Forever and always, Mommy P.S. If that someone happens to be my sister, tell him I couldn't have chosen better myself. Tell him Emma will take good care of you both." Marcus read it 3 times before he could breathe. "Mommy knew," he whispered. "Mommy knew lots of things." Lily wiped her eyes. "She said if you ever met Aunt Emma, you might fall in love with her because they had the same heart. She said that would be okay. Why didn't you tell me before?" "Because Mommy said I'd know when the time was right. You're being dumb about it, Daddy, and Mommy would be really mad at you." Marcus pulled his daughter into a fierce hug, crying in a way he hadn't allowed himself since the funeral. Sarah had known. She'd given her blessing, specifically to Emma. "I messed up," he said. "I really messed up." "Then fix it." Marcus tried everything. Emma had changed her number, moved apartments, resigned from her school, running away, just like she'd been running her whole life. But Marcus wasn't going to let another chance slip away. He remembered something Emma had mentioned months ago about the town where she and Sarah had been born. Ashland, Oregon. Population 20,000. Shakespeare festivals. My parents always talked about taking us back someday. It was a desperate long shot, but Marcus had spent 3 years being careful, and look where that had gotten him. The drive from Columbus to Ashland took 32 hours. He left Lily with Derek and drove through the night, through the snow, through everything that had been holding him back. He found Emma at a small cemetery on the outskirts of town. She was kneeling between 2 graves, her parents' graves, placing flowers in the frozen ground. "Emma," she turned. Hope flickered across her face, then hardened. "How did you find me?" "Ashland, you talked about it once." He stepped closer. "I drove 32 hours to find you." "To what? Tell me you're sorry." "No, to tell you I was wrong. About everything." He pulled out Lily's letter and placed it in Emma's hands. "Sarah knew. She knew I might fall in love with you, and she gave her blessing." Emma read the letter in silence, tears streaming down her face. "She wrote this knowing. She loved you before she ever met you, and she wanted you to be happy. Both of us." Emma looked up. How do I know you actually see me? Not just her ghost? Marcus took her face in his hands. Because Sarah didn't have that scar on your eyebrow from falling off your bike at 7. She didn't wrinkle her nose when she was thinking. She didn't hum off key while making coffee or cry during Pixar movies. Sarah loved classical music. You love country. Sarah was terrified of dogs. You volunteer at the animal shelter. Sarah could never remember jokes. You remember every terrible pun you've ever heard. I know you, Emma, not as Sarah's sister, not as a replacement, as you. And I love you. They drove back to Columbus together. It wasn't easy. There were hard conversations ahead, with each other, with Helen, with everyone who'd watched them struggle. But when they pulled into the driveway and Lily came running out, throwing herself into Emma's arms, Marcus knew they were going to be okay. 3 years later, the backyard was full of sunflowers. Marcus had planted them the summer after the wedding. Sarah's favorite flower, now growing in Emma's garden. Lily had painted signs for each row. For Mom, for Grandma and Grandpa, for new beginnings. Marcus stood at the kitchen window, watching Emma teach their 2-year-old son how to water the flowers. The boy had Sarah's dark hair and Emma's laugh. Lily, now 12, was taking pictures for the family album she'd started keeping. Helen appeared beside Marcus, coffee in hand. Their relationship had taken 18 months to heal. Countless difficult conversations, a few shouting matches, and one Christmas dinner where Helen had finally broken down crying, admitting she'd been holding on to Sarah so tightly that she'd almost lost her son too. She would have liked this, Helen said quietly. Sarah, the sunflowers, the laughter, all of it. Yeah, Marcus smiled. She would have. Outside, Emma caught his eye through the window. She smiled, that smile entirely her own, and Marcus felt something settle in his chest. He'd spent 3 years being afraid to love again, afraid that moving forward meant leaving Sarah behind. But Sarah had known better. She'd known that love doesn't run out, that hearts can hold grief and joy together, that the bravest thing you can do is keep living, keep loving, keep growing. Marcus had finally learned that lesson, in standing in a kitchen full of morning light, watching his family play in a garden of sunflowers. He knew he'd finally kept his promise, not the promise to never move on, the promise to never stop living.